All right, big man. We were all at the practice in Miami. We were all at the game in Miami. What really stood out for you? Let's start somewhere else, for goodness sakes. Non-Jayden Daniels division. Give me something else.
All right, because I certainly have some feelings on all your guys' discussion about him running, but we can get to that. Listen, to me, I think the thing that you have to be most excited about was seeing what could be your starting offensive line out there playing together, both on Thursday and then on Saturday. Jayden Daniels hasn't been pressured in the preseason yet, and they look pretty good against that Dolphins front, especially the interior of that O-line. They're going to have to clean up some of the penalties and some of the procedural stuff that's been happening. I believe that as they get more used to the Jayden Daniels cadence and they all kind of work together a little bit more, that'll all kind of work its way out. But certainly it's something to keep an eye out, because it's been multiple times during camp and then also during the preseason games. So you've had guys jump offside.
Andrew Wiley.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Andrew Wiley had 2 penalties on one drive. Andrew Wiley last year, over the course of, I want to say 16 games, maybe it wasn't that many, had 4 accepted penalties all season. I think that's an aberration. I think it's a guy that hadn't played much, kind of just getting back up to speed. What do you make of 2 penalties on one drive for Wiley?
He has to get better.
Yeah.
He's too old to be doing it. I mean, to be honest, he is too far along in his career to be still making those bonehead mistakes.
I don't disagree, B. It's unacceptable. If this was the regular season, we'd be going crazy about it. Being that it's a preseason game and the amount of time that he's been on the field, yeah, he's a vet and he shouldn't be making those mistakes, but he did. But his body of work last year shows that he's not a particularly penalty-prone player. And try saying that 3 times fast. And I don't think the one poor game against the Dolphins changes that. What we've seen, as a body of work over his career.
Yeah, I think it's not acceptable, clearly, but I don't think it's going to continue. You know what I mean? We just got a text from Kerwin checking in on Cakegate. He thinks any cake your mom makes for BMitch should be in the shape of a Hall of Fame head bust. So that cake,
big ass cake,
that's a big cake, man. They might not have enough bronze.
I mean, that's a big cake. That's a dome over there to try and make any cake. To be fair, I'm not offering my mom up to make another new cake. We'll bring pieces of what's left over from yesterday.
That's fine, but she could also make a new one. Should she be listening and choose to want to make a cake? Cool. You were, I think, early to this. I want to give you credit. Sainristil being the best corner they got. What have you thought of Mikey Sainristil, the Michigan Wolverine?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been really impressive watching him. Not just the fact that he's a rookie, but almost any player. He's super quick to get to the ball, and you love that fieriness out of him. That he's kind of always wanting to stick his nose in there and get it. But he also does a really good job of staying at home, and particularly that Dolphins offense uses a lot of, candy in the backfield, a lot of movement, a lot of, fake movement and whatnot. And throughout the joint practice and then showed up again in the game, he just does a really good job of being confident that he knows where he's supposed to be and what he's supposed to be doing. And he doesn't bite on, all the fake stuff happening out there. And during the joint practice, I think you talked a lot about the play where he broke up the ball to Tyreek Hill in the end zone, but he had 2 other plays. One was a reverse that got ran at him. He tackled Jonnu Smith, I think, for a tackle in the backfield. This is Thursday during the joint practice. And then another one where Tyreek ran kind of a fake reverse and kind of came back out and was looking for the ball in the flat. And Sainristil was right there and forced Tua to throw the ball elsewhere. And it was an incomplete play. And it's a headiness that you don't necessarily see out of young players, but you don't necessarily see it out of young players, particularly in training camp when they're trying to go out there and make big plays. And it's been really impressive watching him understand this defense and understand what he's supposed to be doing.
He's been a breath of fresh air because when you talk to veteran players about rookies normally, they may have a couple things to say about him, but these guys go into depth about what this guy does, how he thinks, and the way his mindset. Then I sat there and I watched him at the hotel, just like I said when we went to that little garden build
Yeah.
that day, the way they were with him, it was veteran players coming up to him as like, when you see the mafia dealing with the boss, that's how people deal with him.
I thought
that says a lot.
At the Miami game, you know how special teams players come out on the field first once they're fully dressed in uniform. Like the 2-hour pregame warm-ups are kind of like individuals do what they want. Maybe they work with a coach, but then eventually you come out in position groups. And what's tricky with the special teams is they come out first, and then a lot of times guys have to go back in to come out with the defense or the offense or whatever. But Sainristil, in only his second preseason game, led out the special teams group. And I just it's just one of these things, man. He just continues to be impressive.
He's always doing a little bit more than is expected of him. And if he's doing that, putting himself out there like that, he has to be doing everything behind the scenes just so he would be, because everybody will put themselves out there if they're not ready for it.
I agree. But Mitch, we haven't, because we've been kind of Jayden focused this morning, shocker. We haven't talked a lot. The starting defense got shredded. Whatever version of the starting defense that was. I mean, the Dolphins had one drive, went right down the field, converted 2 fourth-down conversions. The touchdown to River Craycraft was pretty easy, frankly. What level of concern do you have watching that drive?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think these corners are going to continue to be a place of concern for me. And, honestly, probably more than the offensive tackles or any other position on this defense, mostly, or on this team, mostly because we have seen how much, this coaching staff likes to leave corners in, one-on-one situations on the outside. And we've seen it 2 straight weeks last week, or, this week with Benjamin St-Juste, and 2 weeks ago with Emmanuel Forbes in the end zone getting beat over the top. It's not great, but I do think that some of the Dolphins' ability to run, especially those fourth down plays that were kind of up the middle, would look a little bit different if John Allen and Daron Payne were out there clogging the middle and play. And I think also getting Bobby Wagner out there a little bit more, would help in the run game particularly as well. So yeah, there's certainly some concern, and watching Tua go down the field 5 for 5 and score a touchdown doesn't do a lot to alleviate that concern. But I think this run defense will be just fine. We'll be better. We'll be fine. I'm really concerned about what's happening at corner because between BSJ, Emmanuel Forbes, and Michael Davis, I don't know that I really feel great about any pair of those three being out there and being on an island against kind of big time NFL receivers, not even River Craycraft.
I think we got to get more pressure from the up front too. I don't think we could just blame it solely on the cornerbacks because there's pockets that don't get any pressure. Quarterback gets no pressure. They have pockets they could just step up into and stand there all day. The pass rush has to get better for those corners to even think about getting better.
Well, B, to that point, we're talking with our friend Mitch Tischler here from the Beltway Football Podcast. You can follow him at Mitch_Tischler. Are you a little, as much as we've talked about Jayden and whether he should play or not, right? Mm-hmm. Are you a little surprised that John and Daron didn't play at all?
Yeah, I am. Because, see, this is the thing about it. I understand people get passes because they've been around, they've done it before. But the people you're going to be playing against, they're getting experience. They're playing. So how long will it take you to get up to speed to those guys that have been playing for other teams that we're going against? And I don't look at what we do on our team solely. I look at around the league. If the people around the league are playing their veteran guys, they're getting a little farther along. When we come up, yes, our guys in shape, but these other guys in shape too. I know we're not crazy enough to assume that, our guys just in that great shape. They don't have to ready. They'll be ready for them. The other guys on the other teams are getting ready, so you have to see that it's going to be a growth gap in between it.
Well, and
so that's a problem to me.
I didn't expect Ertz or Wagner to play this preseason, barring those guys playing Sunday. That will prove to be correct. Mm-hmm. Those guys have also done it for 13, 14 years. You know what I mean? I'm not sure it was the right or wrong decision, but I am a little surprised we haven't seen Allen or Payne at all. Mitch, were you surprised?
Yeah, I don't really agree as much with BMitch there that they have to play to get up to speed. Certainly, I would have liked. You guys know how I feel about the preseason. I want these guys to be playing. I was, yelling about Jayden needing to get some preseason work, considering the talk before that was that he might not do it. But for some of these veteran guys, I don't think it's the end of the world that they're not getting that work. I do think it gives the coaches a little bit more of an opportunity to judge, some of these second and third team guys who are fighting for roster spots. And the earlier they get in the game, ostensibly the better competition they're playing against. So you get a better chance to kind of figure out if John Ridgway and Fedarian Mathis, how they work against the other teams, ones and or twos. And I think, some of these positions that they're a little bit deeper in, I want to see a little bit more from these guys. You kind of know what these coaches feel confident they know what they're going to get from Zach Ertz. So I think seeing Cole Turner out on the field a little bit more gives you a little bit more of an opportunity to evaluate him and figure out whether he can help out in the back end. So I don't think it hasn't bothered me too much that John and Duran didn't play, and I don't think it'll hinder him too much when we get to the season.
But see, this is the thing, Mitch. If you're comparing John and Duran, if they're starting a race against professionals and they're not practicing or playing, those other people are getting ahead of them. I understand we see they are the best on this team, but we didn't get a lot of pressure up the middle or on the outside last year. So it's not like you could tell me they don't need to work. So they need to work just like everybody else. So when we get into the game against Tampa, if we can't get pressure up the middle, then we're going to have Baker Mayfield looking damn good.
I totally agree with you. The other point that I would make about all of this is the absurdity of what the preseason has become and the timing. They just played their second preseason game, on Saturday, August 17th, and their first game of the season is September 8th, I believe. We're talking about three weeks in between games here for guys who would have been playing. And so I think getting John and Duran in for a half dozen plays a month before the opener, when they're not going to play between now and then anyway, makes a big difference. No, I don't think it makes a massive difference.
It's going to be interesting kind of watching this all unfold. I don't know that we know exact. I think considering how much they overhauled this roster in March, April, May, and then frankly to me, they've had a lot of guys in and out just in the last month of training camp. I think next week roster cuts come Tuesday. I think the team by Friday afternoon could still have 4 or 5 changes, like as guys get released from other rosters.
So they're looking for guys off other teams that have impressed. And those guys off the other team that have impressed, guess what they're doing? Playing.
Yeah. I think I think there was a fair amount of they wanted to see like probably their bottom 10 roster guys coming into camp. They had an idea who was kind of on the bubble, and now they've been able to watch them. And you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot more could change. Big man, what do you make of this kicker situation?
I mean, the kicker situation is abysmal, and we've joked about being in the quarterback abyss for years. We're certainly in the kicker abyss, and Riley Patterson ain't the guy. He obviously had a better practice on Thursday, hit a couple deep field goals, but you step out on the field when it's time to play, and you can't make kind of basic NFL field goals. You don't have a spot on this roster, and so, like you said, looking at teams when they start making cuts elsewhere, the Commanders have to be right at the top of the list of teams that are looking for a new kicker.
I think the team we playing this week got 2 of them, so we'll see.
There's a lot of teams that have 2 of them, and I think that's okay. You were actually pretty early on thinking Jamin had a real chance as a pass rusher, had the strip sack, and you could tell that Dan Quinn afterwards was legitimately like happy for him, excited for him to make a play and kind of get on the radar. What do you think of Jamin going forward at this point?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I liked last week against the Jets or 2 weeks ago against the Jets. He made some plays early in the run game, was relatively quiet in the pass game. Today we saw him, or this week we saw him make a couple plays in the pass game, which was nice. And I liked early on he had the pass breakup, but what I liked most was later in the game was when he got that strip sack. And, you know, you want to see guys make an impact against players who are either on a practice squad or going to be playing in the USFL next year. And the fact that Jayden was able to get out there and make a couple moves was nice. And listen, I think, you know, you can foresee a world with him and Dante Fowler on the field at the same time, just two guys with extreme speed for, you know, D linemen / pass rushers, we'll call them, who will give some teams some troubles. And certainly, you know, when you look at this kind of big picture group of pass rushers, I think you're going to see a lot of rotation on obvious passing downs. And, you know, I like the idea of having guys that can step up and give Dorrance Armstrong or Cleveland Farrell, you know, a little bit of a break in the middle of the game. And as long as Jamie continues to go out there and make plays and get after the QB, he's going to have a spot on this roster.
I think I agree with everything you're saying. I may be the leader of the KJ Henry fan club. I like Henry, works hard. Whenever he gets out there, he generally seems to make a play.
Yeah.
I think he's a part of your, when you said kind of the Farrell, Fowler, Armstrong, like that next wave that comes in. I think he's part of that. Big man, we'll see you soon. I assume we'll see you out here with cake.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, guys.